You know what? You and I, I always talk about how you and I, we've been friends for many, many years.
Many decades.
40.
Yeah.
And you know what we have that maybe a lot of people have it, but what we have is we have our core group of friends that we still have from when we were growing up. We're still all, in touch. We hang out.
Yep.
We all talk. And I think that's like, it's a rare, I don't know, is it rare? Do you think a lot of people still are in touch with people that they grew up with?
I do think it is somewhat rare. I think it might be just a result of the times we were in, because there's us and the class before us and after us.
But I wasn't even in your class. I was a year below.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I and I consider myself lucky because I hung out with you guys. But then when you all graduated, I basically had to go reintroduce myself to my class.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But we had a great, it was all like I like to compare it to like a TV series, like our friendships, because it started off, it was me, you, we had, not that anybody will know, we had Sheila, Amy, Fernando, Ed, Tim, all these people. And then special guest stars kept, showing up. And by the end, we had this huge core group of friends, Trev, Mark, everybody was, it was fun.
And then some of their brothers, sisters would pop in and out. It was,
And you become friends with the parents, and we're still friends with a lot of their parents to this day.
Yes.
Yes,
we are.
It's just, I think about that a lot. And that's, I don't know, to me, friendships are important now, but there's nothing like that, the friendships you had in your formative years. You know what I mean?
And you know what I think's different too is that we worked to stay in touch. We didn't have the Facebook I like your post or thoughts and prayers or positive vibes, all that bullshit that goes on now. So I think I feel bad for the younger generation because their friends, you know what I mean? Like, we had to work at it.
Yeah.
We had to work at it. We had to call.
Letters, drive places, call.
Fly, call. Yeah. Making a visit wasn't just like texting, like, oh, I'll be there in 5 minutes. It's like...
And you hadn't left the house.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, you have to like... you have to work at it. And I just think today you don't work at it as much.
No.
And sometimes it's like to me, I can't stand on Facebook, doing a quick post. Like, if you know somebody, you just want to recognize them, a quick happy birthday. But I've seen friends that are supposed to be close and it's like, oh, happy birthday, XOXO.
What, are you kidding? Sometimes they just go as far as HBD. Nothing says I like you, but not
sounds
that
contagious.
much. Right. Yeah. HBD.
HBD. Yeah. It's like, just be genuine. If you really care, just send a quick, there are some of my friends that will do that, but then other of my friends, literally, if they don't have time to call, there's one friend in particular in New York, he never forgets my birthday, and he always sends a personalized note. It's like, or like another friend of mine in New York, recently lost his dog that he's had for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And it's like, instead of just going on Facebook and responding to the photo, going like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's like, no, I just reached out to him. I said, hey man, I know how
you called him.
Yeah, it's like, I know this. I know how this must be affecting you, and it was just a quick, and it was a 1 minute, 2 minute convo. That's it. People,
right.
I understand people don't have time to talk anymore, but it's one of those things.
You're lucky they picked up.
I know. It's like,
sometimes they'll answer and be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, it's like, just call people, and I don't know.
Reach out and touch someone. That was the jingle back in the day.
Yeah,
reach out and touch someone.
Oh yeah, what's her name in European Vacation? Remember? Reach out and touch someone.
Yeah, the daughter. I forget her name. Anyway, who do you got today?
Who do we have today?
Yeah.
I've been looking forward to this one.
Me too.
We have comedian, speaker, writer, actress, founder of Wedding Chapel to Go, the only, and thank God there's just one.
Yes.
Vicki Barbolak.
Vicki, thank you for being here.
George, Todd, thank you so much for having me. It's so great to see you guys. Honored to be on the show.
Oh my gosh.
Thinking about old friends who I don't talk to from grade school anymore. Okay, none of them. Nothing.
None. Zero.
None.
Not one.
Do you talk to anybody in the trailer park?
Has ever called me.
Do you talk to the trailer park people?
Yeah, not only the people in the upper half.
Oh, really?
We used to live down in what I refer to as the ghetto.
Oh, you moved up?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. And once you come up to the top of the hill here, it's very difficult because then you run into people that live down there.
Yeah.
and you don't know if you should speak to them or just sort of nod. So I just kind of adopted a queenly wave.
Are you allowed to invite people from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill, or is there
there's
like kind of
nothing
a board?
in writing, George. There's nothing in writing. Do you know what I mean? But they call it polite society for a reason.
Yeah.
So I can't really go into it right now in case some of them listen. But let me just say, once you leave what was behind, and I'm talking about everyone in the lower part of this trailer park.
Who needs them?
Exactly. Right. And you might as well be real.
Right.
Okay.
You're upper crust now. Kidding?
I love it.
Yeah.
I don't want to brag.
No. Yeah. You already did. That's fine.
I love it.
There is one trailer in this trailer park. Yeah. I just went on a walk this morning, and we have this fake lake in the middle. It's actually a drainage ditch, but it's been here since 1967, so it's looks like a kind of a fake lake. But the people that live on it, they're way more hoity-toity than those of us up here in the colonies, which is what I call the hill.
Yeah.
But down there is one trailer right over the look in the lake. It's so beautiful. I call it the Taj Mahal trailer. And so the guy who lives there today, he came out, was taking his trash out. We walked by him and I go, hey, he hates me, by the way. I go, because one time I walked up to him after they bought it and they go, I call this place the Taj Mahal trailer. You're so lucky. And they looked at me like I was so weird and they never talked to me ever since. And so this morning I go, hey, if this is a Taj Mahal trailer, that makes you the Sultan of trash. And we were walking by. He just growled at me.
He's gonna get some dogs. He's gonna sick them after you next time. You're gonna be able to walk there.
I'm not even gonna be allowed near the ditch pretty soon. He's gonna get a gun.
Right. That's the end of your lakefront property walks.
Right. No
nice
dreams.
job,
no more. No more romantic walks down by the ditch.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
The drainage ditch.
Well, I want to get more into this, but before we even get to when you started comedy, because I know you started comedy at around 38, and we can talk about that. What was going on before that? So before comedy, before you were Vicki Barbolak, as we know you today, I'd love to just get a little, and I know our listeners would too, probably a little history of like a little bit of that journey to when you got to 38 and you saw that ad for a stand-up comedy class and you went. So let's go before that, and then we'll.
And I love that ad story. That's my favorite. Yeah.
Like, so let's build up to the ad. Let's build up to the ad story, and then I really want to get into that because I think that's one of those pivot moments or tipping points or whatever fuck book you're reading at the time. It's one of those things where I think it'll be great for the listeners to hear that.
That's what I'm doing is my editor book deadline is March 5th. So I've been just writing constantly with my writing partner, and just coming back to all those places, all those memories. And hearing you guys talk about old friends, because I when I go, to like I see towns like Rochester, Erie, where I've been, and like places where people grew up, and I grew up in a million different cities all over California. We moved all the time when I was a kid, so I had a few friends when I was little, but once I was 12, we just started bouncing. I went to 3 different high schools, never had, those kind of, I hear you guys talking about those friendships, and I see that. I was like, oh, I crave that. And that's what I've loved about comedy in the last 20 years, making some seriously good friends in the world of comedy.
Right.
But, I feel like I got what I missed in my childhood. But so I moved around a lot, and my parents opened a carpet store when I was 19.
Oh, wow.
So, because my dad used to run other people's carpet stores, and my dad would just move every year. They go, oh, we got a new store. We move like he was a fucking diplomat. He could have just stayed. He was just fucking managing a carpet store. So anyway, we kept having to move. So when I was 19, he opened his own carpet store in Oceanside, and so I worked there for 20 years at my parents' carpet store, and. It was a kind of, my parents hated each other. They had to build a wall between their desks because they threw like staplers. So they literally had to build a 5-foot wall between their desks because one day my mom took my dad's part of his eye out with a Cove Base sample. So it was next to a liquor store. And then my parents would start drinking at the end of every day. And then they would just go to sleep on the soft carpet rolls. And people would come in the morning. They didn't lock the door. Are you open? Yeah. So that's exactly what this nutty, it was on the days before Yelp when you could treat customers like you wanted to,
right.
So it was 20 years of just insanity. And so then there was that day, and I was been a fat kid and I always made jokes, and the only time people were nice to me was when I was making them laugh. And so I used humor all the time as a tool. And so I was in the bathroom one day and I saw an ad sticking out of the trash can. And it said stand-up comedy. And I pulled it out and it was like a little Mae West drawing of Mae West. And I love Mae West. And it said Sandy Shore, Pauly Shore's sister, teaches comedy at the Comedy Store in La Jolla. And I thought that, I don't know, maybe I think I should do this. And the weirdest thing was, this is who I was then. I was so sure that when I walked into that class, everyone in there, they didn't know me. And I know this is so weird, but right when I was leaving for the class, the first class, I'm getting my keys and I had this weird idea, and I mean weird, but it must not have been that uncommon to me back then, that I would grab 3 large books. And if I would walk into that class with 3 large books, I mean, they would see that I was a frumpy, middle-aged loser who always married the wrong guy and lived in and worked in a shitty carpet store and had a terrible. They would see I was fat and ugly, but they wouldn't know everything else about me. So I thought those 3 books would trick them into thinking I was interesting and intellectual.
Right.
Okay.
And so that's who I was, like a little over 20 years ago, and that's why I'm so grateful for comedy, because literally I feel like as much as a lifesaver saves a drowning person, that's who I was before I started comedy. I'd written my life off. I thought I screwed it all up and I would never have my own happiness. I'd just look at my children and be happy through them, be happy through my brother. But I'd screwed up my life to the point of, I messed it up. I didn't get a good life. And that's what I totally thought. So it was just great.
When you started that class, and you told me once when you were working with Sandy, she told you something that really resonated with you. What was it? What did she tell you? Do you remember?
Well, she told me a couple of things. Yeah. One of the things that she told me was that in the very beginning, she told me that she thought I had a special talent. And that was really big to me, because it was like nobody ever said I was special. And then she said, if she said it, I've been looking back and kind of wondering if she or Argus told me, but that it was really important to bomb in the beginning. Is that what you're referring to?
Yep. And I think that's so important, especially in any business stand-up, just to have somebody give you that pat on the back and tell you that you have something special.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah. Because, that was just
bomb in the beginning. So it's kind of like fail to get better.
Right.
Yeah, especially in comedy. You have to almost to bomb, and I think Vicki she'll agree with me, to bomb, you appreciate the success more so when you're moving along. And you learn from bombing. Right.
I think it was Argus Hamilton who actually came down and talked to one of our first classes, and he said, I think it was actually him, because I've been really going back and through the book and getting specific, but he came and he said, it's important to bomb. If you're not bombing, you're not risking. If you're not risking, you're not going to grow. So I took that to major heart, and I just started going out, and we would go in bars with, that didn't have comedy shows, because no one would put us on. We couldn't get on the Sunday night open mic at the Comedy Store, because also the manager at the time, Fred, he was a genius comic, but he hated anyone who took a Sandy Shore comedy class. He thought you were the lamest idiot in the world. And I took it more than once, so he would barely speak to me. So I never got on any of the open mics at the Comedy Store, and that was pretty much it back then. So we made our own open mics at like bars that didn't have shows scheduled. We would just walk in with a microphone and an amp and ruin people's nights. And that's what we did. But I did bomb. So I just bombed so well, and I did it, and I held on to it for so long. I really started liking it. And then my friends literally had a bombing intervention for me, and they said enough. And I had to stop bombing.
Yeah.
Well, come on. Yeah, I mean, so what did that? So that's interesting. So what does stop bombing?
I'm not joking.
Yeah. Okay. So they said, so stop bombing though didn't mean you weren't going to stop comedy though. What did stop bombing?
No, they
mean?
just said, it's you don't need to bomb anymore. You got all you can get out of this this pony.
Like
you learn how to
reframe it.
Yep. So I started thinking, these guys are right, and they were my good friends that I took that first class with, and these 4 guys, and they're still my friends. And anyway, so they really did get me at a diner after a show one night at a bar, and they, man, you got to stop this. You got to start trying to make people laugh. And so, and I really I'd done, and the thing was, once you had been bombing for a solid year, maybe, it's so much easier to do well because you're so much more confident because you already know what's going to happen if it doesn't go well, and you don't care as much.
Right.
So for me, it worked out really well.
No, I was going to say, so after that intervention and thinking about it, and you're like, okay, I've done it for a year. What would you consider, like, was there a breakout moment, or did things just start turning around because you just were a little more focused? And
yeah, there wasn't really a breakout moment, but then at that time, then I just started, making set lists, and going ahead and, doing the jokes that I knew were going to work, and then honing those, just like you're supposed to do. And I was disciplined about that. And then after Fred, the manager, didn't know that I'd been going around bars and I worked really hard and I'd gotten a good set. And one night I was in the Comedy Store on a Sunday night, and I always used to bring baked goods every Sunday night to the open mic. And
baked goods.
Yeah, I brought baked goods. I baked on Sunday mornings for my kids, and then I brought the rest of the Comedy Store for all the doormen and everybody. Fred drank tequila. He didn't care about the baked goods.
Yeah.
I could buy him off. Yeah. So anyway, I was there, and Mitzi Shore walked in. I didn't even really know who she was. I knew who she was by then. I had found out all about Mitzi, but I had never seen her. I didn't know what she looked like. I didn't know any of the process of comedy. And she there was this hush, and she came in, and then a few minutes later, the bartender, she came in with Freddie Soto, this comic from LA, and was driving her. And Freddie goes, what's her name? And the guy goes, Vicki Barbolak. And I overhear this because I'm sitting at the bar. Anyway, a few minutes later, Fred comes up. He goes, Mitzi wants to see her set. And I was not scheduled to be on that night. And so I wasn't scared. I was just so happy I got to be on a Sunday night. And I did not imagine. I didn't know Mitzi was showcasing. I didn't even know Mitzi was still developing people. I didn't know anything. Yeah. So I wasn't afraid. Everybody else was like really eating it that night because they were all so terrified that Mitzi was in the room. So because I was so clueless, I went up there and just had a great set. And then when I was walking back down the aisle to get out the door, Mitzi stopped me with her hand and she motioned me to sit down, and she goes, sit down. And she goes, you're really funny. You're a paid regular. Now go away.
Huge.
And then she waved me away. I go out in the lobby. Bobby Lee's out there. He started in San Diego a few years before me. He's always real nice to me. Bobby Lee's in the lobby. I go, Bobby Lee, Mitzi just said I'm a paid regular. What's a paid regular? I didn't even know what a paid regular was. And he goes, that's amazing. That's great, Vicki. You get to go to Hollywood. You get to go in the OR, the main room. You're in. And I went out in that alley and I just started screaming. And I just knew at that moment that my old life was different.
So when did that happen? So you at 38, you saw this ad in the garbage. How far in? You saw this ad in the garbage can. You pulled it out. You went to the Comedy Store La Jolla.
Did the classes.
Oddly enough, it was only about 2.5 years later.
That's impressive, great. Vicki. That's great.
Yeah, I was kind of a maniac about how hard I worked, and I have always been like a really I just, for me, it's all about we're all experiencing COVID,
right.
And it's like for me, it's like. I've just gotten into the swing of COVID,
Right.
And I'm not ready for it to be over now because I just got into it.
Yeah.
I've just understood the sedentary life. I'm just now going, this is good. But, because, when you're learning how to do anything, you just have to do it all the time to get good. And then also, I just loved it so much. I just wanted to do it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So this happens, you become a regular, and then what do you start building on then? So you're doing your show every week, and you're doing it in the different rooms. You're getting a lot. What else came out of that? Would you say over the next?
Well, then I started going into Hollywood, and the first time I went into Hollywood, I went in the OR. There's a room called in the Hollywood Comedy Store that's like no other room in the world. It's called the Original Room, and it's. Yeah. It's got this vibe in it. It's like an X-ray machine. And if you bullshit at all, you are just going to eat it.
Okay.
And it was my first time going up in the OR, and she was there. Mitzi was there. And I just didn't pull it off. I just was like, I was tentative. I wasn't authentic. And the audience didn't get it. I mean, there's a couple little tee-hees. And Mitzi waved me over again. And she just kind of shook her hands up and down and said, just go back to San Diego, keep working and shake it up. Because she said, she didn't say shake it up. She literally couldn't have any words for me. She just moved her arms around like I should just shake it up. And then she said, and then you come back to Hollywood. And so I went back to San Diego and and then I got a call that I was supposed to work the door at the La Jolla Comedy Store, because that's one of the things Mitzi wants people to do. She wants you to work in the club to save money, but mostly I think she wants you to be in the room every night and see comics.
Smart.
So yeah, so I did that for 5 shifts. I was the door girl handling the money, the reservations, and after 5 shifts, she told Fred that she had my shifts looked like a chicken scratch. I mean, I couldn't keep anything straight. My mind does not work in a straight line, and she told Fred that I was the most stupid person that ever worked there, and I was fired. So then I'm fired from the Comedy Store job, and I ate it at the original room. So I was like, shit, I blew it before I even started. And then about a month later, I got a call from the Hollywood Store, and it said, the guy goes, Mitzi wants you to come up Saturday and take her and have lunch with her, and then you have a 10:30 spot in the OR.
Wow.
And I was like, out of nowhere, when I thought I was gone.
Yeah,
right.
I got that call. And so then I went up to Hollywood. I went to Beverly Hills and drove up to her house. And I didn't know. I mean, I was like, I'm going to have lunch with Mitzi. Mm-hmm. And it was just incredible. I went into her house, which was Dorothy Lamore's old house. It's like an incredible, beautiful mansion. And then we had this great long lunch for 2 hours at Hamburger Hamlet, and she told me about being a mom and how she got the Comedy Store away from Sammy. And I was just like, oh my God. And then we go back to her house. She goes, okay, go upstairs and take a nap. And then she goes, it's the first door on the right. I go upstairs. The hallway goes like 3 different ways. I didn't know which door which room. So I didn't want to disturb the wrong bed. So I just laid on the ceramic tile ground. I went to sleep, and then went back downstairs and I had made her a dump cake. It's like an old Iowa thing, and I made her a dump cake. And when I went downstairs, she was going, "That's the best cake I ever had." I go, "I'll give you the recipe." She goes, "Don't bother, I don't cook." And then she kind of waved me away and told me to go to the store. And that night at 10:30, I had a great set, and then from then on, I was just constantly in Hollywood. And I thought, managers or agents they would come in to see other people, and I thought, well, I had the best set. They would definitely talk to me, but nobody did. And I wasn't like aggressive. And I just thought, oh, nobody would want a 40-year-old, 43-year-old woman. The Roseanne already exists. I guess that was the one. Yeah. I just didn't think, I got some negative reaction.
Yeah. I understand why.
Yeah. So it was, then I just kept doing it and loving it. And I got on the E! True Hollywood Stories of the Comedy Store. Oh, that was great. Anyway, I got on the E! True Stories, and they said I was the next breakout star. And then I thought, well, then I'll get management, but I didn't get anything out of that. And I didn't try hard. Like, I'm not in Hollywood at agencies knocking on doors. So that was like a big flaw in my career that I didn't, I just thought I'd get so good. I would, people would notice me, but I didn't get the other business part. So that, and then I won Funniest Mom in America. And then because of that, on Nick at Night, I started getting a lot of private corporate jobs, and that kind of got us out of extreme poverty.
That's good money.
It was, it was pretty good money for me. It wasn't like corporate level,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it was more than, you make a lot more money at fundraisers than you ever would working on the road if you're not a TV celebrity, So we got through and it was fine.
Hey, Vicki, when did the trailer nasty persona start to form? Was that right around that time?
I moved into the trailer right when I told my parents to start to sell the carpet store. So it was really early in my career that I moved into a trailer. So, but I think it was probably about 5 or 6, 7 years into stand-up that I started really going trailer. And then in trailer trash to me was like, they always go, she's trailer trash. No, that was like, no, I wanted to be trailer elevate that. And I elevated it to trailer nasty instead of trailer glamour or something. I went to nasty. So trailer nasty's been around for a while. And then, it just got stronger and stronger as I kept doing it. And it is my whole my life,
Oh, it is. I mean, that was you were on the Trailer Nasty tour the last time you were at Comedy at the Carlson.
Yeah. Yeah. We called it Trailer Palooza last year, but that got canceled. But yeah, I think, I'm working on a couple of projects right now with, for, some trailer projects, so we'll see.
So when you moved into the trailer, the carpet store was sold, you moved into the trailer, you had 2 young girls. How did the girls transition moving into a trailer when they had, a home and everything they could get at that point?
That's what I was really worried about. And my ex-husband, John, their dad, he was going through kind of issues himself, and he was getting a little difficult. And my daughter Emily, which was 12, and she says, we need to get out of here, Mom, because I'd been living in the garage. I'd made an apartment in my garage for 3 years because the marriage didn't work, but I didn't want to split the family up. Anyway, so Emily at one point goes, I think we got to get out of here. And so I went and I bought this trailer for $11,000. It was 800 square feet, 1 bathroom. So I said, Jono, you keep the house until the girls are 18. We'll split it and sell it then. In case they want to entertain their friends, they'd still be able to bring their friends here. And he was working at UCSD. So we agreed that at least the girls would have a place to bring their friends if they were embarrassed. But it turned out right away, the girls loved the trailer. And all their friends wanted to have their birthday parties at the trailer. Trailer is like, it was just kind of fun right away. It was really weird. And the guy we bought it from, he answered the door in a long gown. He had long brown hair, beautiful long gown on, no makeup, just a little lipstick. And Emily and I went in
the basket.
And he had guns everywhere, just guns everywhere, guns. So I was a little worried, like his friends might drop by in the first few months that we lived there, but it was never a problem when we lived there for 8 years, and with 1 bathroom and 3 women.
Wow.
Yeah, that must have been difficult.
Well, yeah, it was like we had a rule. If anyone was caught with mascara in the bathroom, they were shot. They were shot on sight. So it was just business only in there, ladies.
Yeah, good rule to have.
Yeah.
But still, what a bonding moment to have with your daughters too. I feel like so many young people could benefit from something like that.
Just to be in a trailer.
Yeah, and just to have
instantly
a different
change, right? And it's funny because all of their friends were, their parents were very pretty. Most of their friends were, really successful parents, and they had whatever they wanted. And, we had to immediately start, I had no safety net really. And their father never paid any child support, and we just barely kept making it. And my girls learned immediately to, shop in thrift stores, and we would go to San Clemente, this fancy town, and use their thrift stores. And I used to get a lot of their clothes from the lost and found box at their school when they do the dump 2 times a year.
Sure.
And then Emily goes, it's so embarrassing when people see me in their jacket. Could you go to another school? So I learned to go to like Solana Beach, the nice towns, on their dump days, and I would get really great clothes for the girls.
Yep. Yeah,
these are tips that, people need to know about how to save money. But because of that, because my girls were like, because they were like really, they both became just incredibly hardworking, successful, both graduated college, both have, my one daughter has 3 properties in Oceanside.
Fantastic.
They live on nothing. They make the most of their money. The other one's got her master's degree with no debt. She's a scientist. So, I mean, like, I recommend that everyone stops helping their children.
Right. No, well, Vicki, this is great though. This is great for a lot of people out there because, we've gotten into this mode of, everybody gets the award and nobody's a loser.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And being a loser or failing isn't a bad thing. It's a phase. You go through it. You feel that way. And I think it's healthy sometimes to feel that way and do that because then it propels you to do even more. And the other thing I love about this is your girls have a great sense. And again, I don't know them, so I'm making an assumption here, but it sounds like they have a great sense of how much is enough. Like, I'm sorry, there is nobody in the world that needs 8 or 9 or 10 different houses. You can't possibly go to them every year, every other. I mean, you just don't need all that. Like, what is this? What ego drives people to be like, oh, I need, the house here, the house there, the apartment here, the this here, the that, the. It's like, just stop. And that all started in the 80s for us. So I think your daughters are much better off for that.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. And it wasn't like, okay, I planned to not be successful in comedy, so my daughters would turn out good.
No.
But I always do say, there's this, like, thank God I was a failure. They got free college. But, when I was thinking about just when my daughter graduated from her undergrad at Cal State Monterey Bay, she was the president. She got the presidential award. So that was like she got to do the speech for the graduation. And in her speech, she said, I always told and she went to she got a scholarship. She played volleyball to go to this sickeningly fancy school in Del Mar where they were horrible. But anyway, she said in her speech, she said, I lied to myself. I told myself I'm from a trailer. I'm a trailer park girl. And I used to lie to myself and say, I'm not capable and I'm not worthy. And she goes, and I got to college and I was given a chance to succeed here. And I can't lie anymore. I was raised in a trailer park, but I'm more than a trailer park girl. I'm a capable woman who can succeed.
That's right.
And there wasn't a dry eye in the house. And I hadn't thought about that speech until yesterday. I was just reflecting on it when I was in my bedroom, because I remembered where we were when the guy called from the university to say that she was going to be given that award. She was home for vacation. And it's just like, that's why it's like, I know there was many years, and still sometimes I wonder, man, I put those girls through a lot. Like, I just found out that Emily, I go, let me see your yearbook. I want to look at your yearbook for research for the book. She goes, oh, Mom, we couldn't afford a yearbook. Yeah. I'm like, oh, shit, you're right. I didn't buy your yearbook.
Yeah, but you know what? Again, it's not about what you have or where you were raised. It's the attitude you bring with you. And if you have the attitude, and this is why it's like I'm starting to see bits of awakening around the country with certain people. But then you get on social media and it's like still this like cesspool of nonsense. But there are some bright spots there where it's like, just stop with the ego. Stop. It's not about what you have. It's who you are as a person and the attitude you bring with you. I don't care if you grew up in a trailer park or if you grew up on the streets of India. And there's so many success stories because of the attitude that people have. And I'm sure your daughters are really kind. They're really, really kind. They didn't have the easiest upbringing, but at the same time, they knew like, hey, we can make do with what we have and we can still help other people.
Right. And having fun is like if you put all your emphasis into even like in the very beginning of after AGT was over and I was getting these gigantic paychecks and I was like, I started going, oh my God, I think I want something. Oh, then I want something else. And I want something else after that. And then I thought to myself, this is like a slide, man. I'm on this slide of want and I don't want to be there.
Right.
So we just turned it all off, and thank God we didn't spend hardly anything. I remember I bought my grandsons a go-kart. That was my big thing. After that, we didn't spend. We just kept on living just like we've always lived, and thank God because then I haven't been able to work in a year, so it hasn't. We've been fine, and we can go for years now. Just because we didn't change,
Right. Yeah. Right. And we
haven't,
and when you touched on it, but we haven't gotten into it yet. I wanted to get into a little more on America's Got Talent, but
we
go
definitely
ahead,
got to get into that.
Yeah,
but
go ahead,
what we're learning here is she taught her daughters that you don't give up, you work hard, and you believe in yourself, and have the attitude that she has. And look what it got her. It got her she was a top 10 finalist on America's Got Talent.
That's right.
And it's funny. I remember when I talked to her about it, and she probably doesn't remember it, but when she was at the Comedy at the Carlson, she said, oh yeah, I got so lucky. I'm like, no, you didn't get lucky. That's Vicki. That's 20 years of hard work.
That's right.
That led to it. People just think you appear on that stage and you just started comedy that night, but that's 20 plus years, correct, of hard work that led to opportunity.
I think I really got lucky the day Sharon Houston called me and asked me to audition for the show, and I told her, Sharon, you're insane. You're crazy. Are you crazy? Why are you calling me? Goodbye. I didn't say goodbye. I go, call Sean, call Betsy, call Cindy. Don't call me. They're not going to put me on that show. You're going to look bad. I'm going to make you look bad. I don't want you to lose that job. It's a great job. I was happy she got a job producing for AGT. She called me up. I hadn't seen her for a while. And I go, you don't do this. And she's like, listen, they're British. I go, they're British? The producers are British? Yeah. And all of a sudden my heart skipped. I go, are you shitting me? Because British people usually love my humor. Yeah. And so then I was like, okay, I'll audition. I did not think I'd get on.
Right.
But yeah. So that was, I feel like, my big lucky break. And then the other thing was, I knew that I was good, and because people laughed a lot when I was performing. But and I knew that Mitzi loved me, and that's all I cared about. And so I felt like I had like you say, I had the 20 years under my belt, and I did. And so I was ready, but I would never have gone and auditioned or called somebody to get me on that show ever. That just seemed insane.
Did you feel nervous at all during the audition process?
At the very first audition, it was in an airplane hangar in Santa Monica, and it was the one that they do actually pick people from those big auditions. They really do, and they see everybody. But there's also this other one goes around, and it's a sort of like a professional scouts are looking, and so on that day, which was not the gigantic audition where thousands of people there, but I was alone in an airplane hangar in Santa Monica, and I was outside because Lou was in Austin. My husband Lou was in Austin helping Latasha Najaro. He's playing piano on her special. So I was alone, and he would normally have driven me on a day like that so I could relax on the way to LA. But I drove to LA, and I got to the airplane hangar early, and I was sitting outside in my car, and I was like kind of a little bit panicking, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. And then I wrote a list of all the people that had ever helped me along the way. And then I wrote another list of all the reasons why I should do well in this room right now. And then after I did that, I felt fine. And I walked in, and there was just two producers and a sound guy in the very back of this airplane hangar. And then I'm standing in the middle of alone in an airplane hangar, and they go, okay, well, do your set. And I did it. And they go, oh, good, funny. Do you have any more? And I go, well, I was told to prepare 2.5 minutes. I put time in for laughs, but you're the shittiest audience I've ever had.
Way to win them over.
Yeah. And they started cracking up, and that was it. And then I found out really soon that I would be on it. And then the first night of the judge cuts, that was, I was just terrified. And before I went on stage, my daughters are backstage with me, and they know that I haven't watched the show because we didn't have cable. So they were telling me that if I got buzzed, I could get buzzed up to 3 times. They go, Mom, Simon's probably going to buzz you when you first get out. So get something ready. Like, let's come up with a little jokey joke. So we came up with a little gesture that I would give for the buzz. And so that's what we were preparing for the last few minutes before I went on, how I was going to be buzzed off.
Wow.
And then to have the first audition go so well, and Simon said I was the funniest comic they'd ever had on the show, and Howie said, some great things. So that was like, for me, all of a sudden in that moment, I just felt like all those years of craving a big yes from Hollywood, and to get it right there, it shocked me so much, and I didn't know I wanted it so bad until I got it.
Right. Validation. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Nice validation. And you went up there and you killed. And like Steve Martin says, you go up and you be so good they can't ignore you. And that's
my motto too. That is my motto.
I don't know if you've read his book, but it's a famous quote of Steve Martin's, and it's so true. And it sounds like what you did.
That was when I read when I started. And you get so good they can't ignore you.
Yep.
And that's why I kind of wish I wouldn't have read that book.
Right. Yeah.
He should have said, and you need to get representation. Really.
Right.
That's very important.
But after you're a top 10 finalist on America's Got Talent, and before that, you would get turned away from managers and agents who would tell you you're too fat, you're too old, all that. Yep. Did they come knocking, or did you have to go find them?
Actually, a couple of them came knocking, but they weren't the ones I wanted. And I always dreamed of being at Gersh. And so my friend Jimmy Schubert, you guys know Jimmy Schubert?
I know him very well.
Right on.
Yep.
So I called Jimmy and I don't know when. No, we were at the Comedy Store in the back room one night at the back bar. And it was just towards the end of the AGT, toward the end.
Okay.
And I'd been working on my set. So I was in the back bar and Jimmy was there and he goes, "Who's your agent, Barbolak?" And I go, "I don't have one yet, Jimmy. I want Gersh. I want," and he goes, "That's who I'm with. Hold on." It's like 10:30 at night. He gets up the phone. He calls them up and he goes, "You got to get Vicki Barbolak in there." And I found out later that they thought he was in a car accident somewhere. It was 10:30 at night on a Sunday night when he's blowing their phones up.
Yeah.
And so then they met with me like the next day and they took me on. So, and that's been great.
Yeah.
They're great.
No, that's good. And now you got representation. So
yeah. And then Simon got me these managers, about a year ago, like about a year after AGT, maybe 6-7 months, he got me these incredible managers that they manage musicians. They manage my manager manages Paul McCartney and AC/DC.
Oh, how funny!
Oh, AC/DC, really?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great.
I mean, but I'm their only comic, but
well,
but they're
like
working on
diversity.
it.
Yeah,
they're coming around, and they got me the Jimmy Kimmel Comedy Club at Caesars.
Yeah,
they got me that.
That's awesome.
And now there some really cool things are breaking, and I've just always been grateful. But yeah, it's really.
I was going to say, and I'll tell you, the way London, well, all of Great Britain, but London especially, the way they're vaccinating people there, I'll tell you, they might be ready first in the world to get going. And since they love you, get over there.
That would be so fun. What a great idea. I got vaccinated because my grandson Timmy has autism and I'm one of his caregivers, and I was taking him to therapy the other day, and the woman at social services said, "Oh, would you like a vaccination as a caregiver?" I'm like, "Oh, are you shitting me?"
Here's my arm.
Yeah. So the next day I got my shot. I'm like, "Oh man, it's amazing."
So, Vicki, George and I were talking before we even had you on the air. We were talking about that finale when you did the bathing suit.
Yeah.
When you dropped the dress and you had the bathing suit on.
The swimsuit competition.
The swimsuit competition.
Right.
That hilarious. Now, tell me, did you pick up more of a fan base by doing that? Did more people, like, this is what I see. I could see the gay community latching onto you at that point. Or did they already latch onto you?
Well, you know what? This is what is absolutely true. My first paid job was at Flick's Gay Bar in San Diego. And really, honestly, my daughters and I will tell you that without the gay community, the jobs that I got in gay bars, gay weekends, there was so many times when that paid our tiny little monthly bills. So the gay communities, the work I've gotten from the gay community has been just like phenomenal. And the night that I went on stage in my bathing suit, and I talk about this, but it's not a joke. The night that I went on stage in my bathing suit, I brought a lot of straight men over to the gay community. And I feel like I've paid the boys back with that.
Yep. Sure did.
Because a lot of guys saw that and they're going, no, not another woman.
What's this going on?
Can't do
here?
it.
Goddamn women. So Howie Mandel said that you deserve a sitcom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that in the works?
You know, I pitched really hard last season before COVID shut down, and nobody took it. And we did go around to 5 or 6 really good companies. Nobody took it, and I feel like I really didn't know how to pitch. I should have had a showrunner with me. You know, you find out later what you did wrong, and that's okay. But now that is continuing now.
That's great.
So,
great.
Yeah.
And the book,
you can't give up. You got to keep it going.
No, she's got that, and she's got a book. So things are. And did you do a lot of shows during quarantine or during COVID?
You know, I went to Florida and Texas because there's no COVID there. I was like a comedy whore. Yeah. And if you should have seen what I look like on the plane. A flight attendant took my picture. When a flight attendant takes your picture, you know you're bizarre. I wore the giant World War I Sup with Camel goggles that I got at Home Depot, the welding goggles, huge with the rubber sides. Yeah. Double mask, you know. everything. And so that's how I looked when we flew. Yeah. And it was hilarious. But yeah, I did some, not, like everyone else, but I think I did more than anyone I know. And I took a lot of shade for it. And, it's almost, I had this friend, he's a gay guy in Las Vegas, really beautiful older dude, super wealthy. I go over to his house and it's dead animal city. It's got beautiful dead animals everywhere. I'm standing on a bear rug looking up at a lion's head in my face. And I'm like, David, did you shoot all these? And he's like, no, God, no, I could never, ever kill an animal. Are you kidding? But since they were already dead.
Yeah.
And so I felt like that about my saying, yes, I would travel and do shows during quarantine. I go, look, somebody's going to take the job. So I'm a comedy whore. And
you are.
No,
not proud.
And you got the gay community. I think you won another gay fan over here with George. George is a gay man.
For sure.
You won him over. So
absolutely. Awesome. That means the world to me because in high school too. I mean, like when I went to 3 different high schools, all I did every time, the first thing I did was I found the gay kids and then I was fine.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, we're welcoming. We like to take care of everybody, and I mean, believe me, there's a darker side to it. I mean, you would have a blast if you. All right, so Vicki, if you haven't yet, get on Gays Over COVID on Instagram.
Oh, how funny.
It's called Gays Over COVID, and it's a group of gay guys that started calling out the gays that do all the poses like, wear a mask. And then they're at some circuit party in like Puerto Vallarta or like South Beach.
How funny.
And some of these gays are like medical professionals like, wear a mask. We're tired. It's exhausting. And then they're like bumping whatever's at down in Puerto Vallarta, no mask, crowds of people. It's like they're such jackasses. So Gays Over COVID on Instagram,
that's great.
They call them out. It's so great, and I think you could. Who knows? You may have a little fun with that.
I'm going to go there right away.
Yeah.
That's
you may
fantastic.
have a little fun with that. So one last thing before we go, book. When do you imagine the book would be out? And we should do a show around your book launch.
Oh, I would love that. I'd love to do that.
Okay.
I just love Rochester. It's one of my favorite places. I want to do a tour.
We'd love to have you here live, and we could probably tie it all in. But
yeah, I think it by the time the book comes out, though, I think COVID. But
is it later this year or?
Yeah, because
we're still in lockdown for comedy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be around the fall that it'll come out.
Hopefully, we're open by then. We're still in New York State. You can't even make laughs.
You guys, the Johnson & Johnson is going to come out, and a bunch of others, and once the vaccines are out, it's going to be. I know there's people are variants and stuff, but these scientists are figuring out bumps to the variants and stuff. It's going
to be a rough road, but we're going to get there.
Yep,
we're going to get there, and we're on our way.
Yeah.
And do you guys think it's going to be wild next year? Like, come on.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Vicki, Mark Ippolito, who runs a club, we just think there's going to be a huge comedy boom. Like he's almost expecting like 4 to 5 nights a week once it starts because people are going to want to laugh and comics are going to want to work. You know, we're starving. So not starving for food, but starving to get on stage and make people laugh.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. I just booked Vegas for Memorial Day.
Nice.
Good for you.
And I mean, I'm excited because, I feel a lot of people have had in the everyone over 65 in California. This is vaccine heaven here in Southern California. I mean, especially San Diego County. We have so much vaccine that all of the people over 65 and you could just see the road from Vegas is already starting to get crowded.
Yeah.
So everybody in my audience is going to be in a walker, but I don't give a shit.
What do you care?
Who cares? And listen, and next time we get together, speaking of Vegas, we got to talk about the wedding chapel to go and that you're an ordained minister. We'll get it.
Yeah. We got to get.
Yeah, I want to get into that next time too.
This was like an introduction. We'll get her back, and we'll talk more.
I want to get more into that next time. But Vicki, thanks so much for your time. We know.
Thanks, George. Thanks, Todd.
Yeah, Vicki, it was great to see you.
Honestly, you do have a really big fan, a new fan, and I really appreciate you taking the time. You seem wonderful, and I love what I've watched so far. Your view on having kids, all that stuff. It really makes me laugh.
Thanks.
So,
and you guys, I have a fun podcast with my girlfriend Amber Rose called Big Girls Don't Cry.
Okay. Oh, Big Girls Don't Cry. Okay.
And then it's on all the podcast platforms, and then also All Things Comedy produced a a new podcast for my good friend Sean Pulaski and I. That's going to drop in 3 months called Trailer Park Diaries.
Oh, great.
Okay.
And then we just finished this. Well, yeah, we just finished it. And then those two things are the things that I love people to look at. Big Girls Don't Cry right now. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then soon Trailer Park Diaries. And I have a Vicki Barbolak comedy website with I put everything on there.
Yep.
And
we'll add that
and
to
the
our
socials.
Yeah, we'll
Thanks,
add that
guys.
we'll add that to when we do the postings for the show. We'll add all that, especially the website.
Yeah. I'm
so
gonna
you
check
think
out
there's going to
those.
be any outside comedy at the Carlson this summer?
We did that last summer, and then we were actually open for 4 weeks in June, and because the county told us we could open, and then the governor said comedy is illegal, and it's I'm not joking. It was literally listed on the liquor authority thing that no stand-up comedy, and it's gotten to the point now where you can do just about everything except comedy and performing arts right now up here. So we're feeling it's coming. Like I'm predicting like April-ish that we might be able to do something so we can get back inside and do what we do best. So.
Okay, guys, that's awesome. It
All
was
right,
really
Vic.
fun talking to you. I'll see you
Oh
soon.
my God. You look
so
great. It
much.
was good
you
to
look
see you.
great.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Yes. Thanks
Bye-bye.
so much, Vicki. Bye.
Bye.
That was Vicki Barbolak, comedian, speaker, founder of Wedding Chapel to Go. She's got a book coming out in fall.
Yep.
Trailer Park Diaries is coming out in 3 months.
That's
and
gotta be
her
great.
podcast, Big Girls Don't Cry. Wow.
Yep. A lot of hard work and persevering and just, and look where she is now.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, for a tough year, she's found ways to keep busy, and I like that she's like, look, I hit it big after the America's Got Talent, and I made some money, I spent some money, but she also decided to live. She didn't want to live too differently than she did before.
No, she just moved up the road in the trailer park
That's right.
up to the upper crust.
I love it. She's so humble. She's so real. She raised a family. You just got to admire that. You got to admire that. And you look at her kids, and her kids are none the worse for wear. They're both successful.
It sounds like they're very well adjusted, and
Yeah, and they're doing really well. And I like that she discovered comedy at age 38. It is never, ever, ever too late. If you take anything from this discussion today, it is never too late. And even when you feel like it's the end, you can start a new beginning. I love it.
And she did. And
She
she's
sure
fantastic.
did.
Yep.
She is fantastic.
All right. Say goodbye, George.
Goodbye, George.